From a symbol reserved for the serene rituals of the tea ceremony, matcha has risen to a global phenomenon, spreading across menus from fine dining to street food stalls and shaping an industry worth billions of dollars. What has made this green tea powder so coveted? The journey behind matcha's global craze begins on carefully shaded green tea hillsides, where young tea leaves are meticulously controlled for light, climate, and timing, before being harvested through a combination of manual and mechanical methods, precisely at the moment they reach ideal umami levels. From there, the leaves are taken to factories where traditional techniques, precise technology, and patience come together, slowly grinding them into a fine green powder that has captivated millions of food lovers worldwide. Don't take your eyes off this video, because coming up next is the entire journey that transformed matcha from a sacred cultural symbol into a global trend, along with the secret behind more than 4,000 tons of matcha produced every year. Let's begin.
Hello, everyone who listens to my daily life podcast. Today, I learned a little more English with the topic Collagen Glow. Instructions for skincare through diet. Episode 4. How to make Matcha Tonic. We invite you to improve your English with me. If you want. My love for matcha runs deep. For those who aren't familiar with it, matcha is essentially green tea's better half. It's made by grinding high-quality, nutrient-rich green tea leaves into a fine powder. Matcha is ubiquitous in Korea. It is in our pastries and breads, desserts and chocolates, and Koreans drink it almost as if it were water. And because the caffeine from the matcha is more of a soft lull, I usually don't feel the coffee crash that I often get after an espresso shot. Makes one serving drink. 1 teaspoon matcha powder, 1 cup hot water plus 1 of 4 cup lukewarm water for mixing. 10 grams, about 1 tablespoon or scoop, collagen powder. Now, pour the matcha powder into a glass containing about 1 of 4 cup of lukewarm water. Use an electric milk frother to whisk until all the matcha powder dissolves completely. Add the collagen powder and whisk again. Add the mixture to a mug of hot water. The less water, the deeper the matcha flavor profile will be. The more water added, the more it tastes like just any other green tea. Tip: pipe. If you don't have an electric milk frother, place the matcha powder into a water bottle or a canteen. Even just 1 tablespoon of water is fine. Shake the bottle for 30 seconds. Add your collagen powder into the bottle using a funnel, then shake again. Add this mixture to a cup of hot water. I hope you like this recipe for making a perfect matcha tonic for Christmas. Now, you can see matcha produced from Japan with the new technology. If you want to buy good quality matcha powder, please leave a comment. I can recommend which type of matcha is best for the next video.
%90 of consumers, when thinking of matcha, immediately associate it with Japan. Few realize that this fine green powder, revered almost as a national treasure in the land of the rising sun, actually has its origins in its friendly neighbor, China. It was not until the 12th century when the Zen monk Aisai brought tea seeds and powdered tea rituals to Japan that matcha truly took root and was elevated into the way of tea. The real turning point came in 2007 when Starbucks introduced the matcha latte to the global market, taking matcha out of ritual spaces and transforming it into a mainstream beverage, marking the beginning of its worldwide boom. By 2025, the global matcha industry surpassed $4 billion USD, becoming a key ingredient in the modern F&B industry and an endless source of inspiration in popular culture. Despite being the cradle of matcha, Japan contributes only about 25% of global production each year, focusing instead on the premium segment, where 1 kilogram of ceremonial-grade matcha can reach several $1,000s. The remainder of the market belongs to China, with large-scale production, lower costs, and speeds that far exceed classical standards, pushing matcha from a meditative essence into a mass-market commodity. Meanwhile, the United States can be considered the world's largest matcha-obsessed giant, importing more than 1,000 tons each year. Matcha was once celebrated as a symbol of a green lifestyle, healthier than Coke, purer than Pepsi, and a drink of meditation and focus. Yet few know that when overused, matcha can lose its healing qualities, causing certain unwanted side effects such as reduced iron absorption and prolonged fatigue. And that is only a small part of the broader picture of matcha. Now let us return to the point of origin, vast green tea hillsides, where the journey of authentic Japanese matcha begins. Although all come from the same tea plant, Japanese matcha uses only the top 1 or 2 young shaded leaves, known as tencha, and consumed whole, while Chinese green tea, sencha, and English tea use larger sun-grown leaves that are brewed and discarded. Matcha is not simply green tea ground into powder, but the result of a deliberate intervention in light, something most other teas never undergo. Shading is a mandatory ritual and the key that creates the distinctive status of authentic Japanese matcha. Each April, across the tea hills of Kyoto and Aichi, thousands of hectares are covered with dark shade nets capable of blocking up to 90% of sunlight. When light is restricted, the tea plant is forced to alter its growth. Chlorophyll levels rise sharply, and sugars are converted into L-theanine, the amino acid responsible for matcha's smooth, gentle, umami sweetness. By contrast, green tea grown under direct sunlight tends to develop more pronounced bitterness and astringency. To maintain these ideal conditions, farmers must constantly adjust shade nets and support frames in response to the weather. This is a costly and highly precise process, as even a few days out of sync can cause the leaves to mature too quickly or lose their optimal flavor. It is this significant investment and discipline that define the value of high-grade matcha and explain why it consistently commands a premium price. As the shade is lifted, matcha's journey enters its decisive moment, harvesting the purest young leaves. For the highest grades of matcha, harvesting is not simply about gathering tea leaves. It is a manual craft that demands near absolute precision. While sencha, the most widely consumed green tea in Japan, can be machine harvested to maximize efficiency, ceremonial-grade matcha, the highest tier used in traditional tea ceremony, is always hand-picked, 100%. The harvest takes place during the first flush of spring, when the tea plant emerges from winter dormancy and concentrates its nutrients at the tip. Harvesters select only the top 2 to 3 young leaves, where L-theanine levels are highest and the leaf structure is soft and low in fiber, ideal for producing matcha powder that is fine and well-rounded in flavor. At the core of leaf selection is not sight, but touch. Skilled artisans scarcely need to look, as their fingertips have become the most precise measure of all. However, for culinary-grade matcha used in industrial food production and beverages, human hands alone can no longer keep pace with the massive demand of the modern F&B industry, forcing machines to enter the game. On tea hills with steep, fragmented terrain, a defining feature of many tea-growing regions in Japan, handheld mechanical harvesters become the optimal solution. Operated by 1 or 2 workers, these machines use a horizontally fixed cutting blade to harvest the top layer of leaves in a single pass, while rear-mounted suction fans collect the leaves directly into storage bags. Compared to hand-picking, productivity can increase 4 to 6 times, while still maintaining a degree of control on terrain inaccessible to larger machinery. Another major advance in the mechanization of Japan's tea industry is the self-propelled harvester. High-speed, uniform output, and low labor costs make it the near-default choice for commercial tea and mass-market sencha. On large fields, a single machine can harvest in 1 hour what hand-picking would take a full day, with fixed cutting heights and suction systems ensuring standardized yields and tightly controlled costs. Even so, machines are limited by preset cutting heights and cannot distinguish leaves at peak flavor. That is why, for high-grade matcha, where every leaf shapes the final quality, human hands remain irreplaceable. Immediately after harvest, batches of young tea leaves are transported to the processing facility as quickly as possible. A window of 1 to 3 hours after picking is considered a safe threshold, helping to limit oxidation and preserve the leaves' natural flavor. At the matcha factory, upon arrival, the leaves are spread evenly onto conveyor belts in thin layers rather than piled together. Some facilities also use gentle airflow from fans to cool the leaf surface, releasing heat accumulated during transport and preventing the leaves from self-steaming when compressed. But this fresh state lasts only a very short time. To lock in every biological change still unfolding, the tea leaves must move immediately into the steaming stage. At this stage, freshly harvested leaves are treated with non-pressurized steam, a technique that may appear simple, yet one that Japan has preserved and refined over centuries. The goal is not to cook the leaves like vegetables, where heat dulls color and breaks down structure, but to arrest biological reactions at a critical moment. A light veil of steam briefly envelops the leaf surface, just long enough to deactivate oxidative enzymes without stripping the leaves of their vitality. As a result, the green color not only remains intact but becomes clearer, deeper, and more stable, while the raw, harsh notes of young leaves are effectively eliminated. The entire steaming process lasts only 20 to 40 seconds and is precisely controlled in sync with the conveyor system. Though it occupies only a brief moment within the overall production line, steaming is a decisive step. Without it, the leaves would continue to oxidize like black tea, and the full premium potential of matcha would be lost immediately. After steaming, the tea leaves must be dried almost immediately to stabilize their structure and prevent residual moisture from continuing to affect the leaf cells. Unlike sencha, leaves intended for matcha are not rolled or twisted. Instead, they are dried flat using a multi-stage hot air drying system with temperature and duration tightly controlled, typically around 80 to 100 degrees Celsius for up to 40 minutes. The goal is not to shape the leaves, but to remove moisture evenly while preserving leaf structure and chlorophyll content. The result of this process is tencha, the indispensable foundation of authentic Japanese matcha, ready for the next stages of refinement. Next, the fully dried tea leaves are fed into a refining system where veins and stems are removed almost entirely. This stage is typically carried out using specialized separation machines that combine mechanical vibration, airflow, and multi-layered sieving to sort the material by weight and structural flexibility. The heavier fibrous stems and veins are discarded, while only the thinnest, softest portions of the leaf are retained. This step is highly selective. Even small amounts of residual stem can compromise the smoothness and flavor of the final powder. The outcome is refined tencha, uniform in structure, consistent in quality, and brought to an ideal state for what follows. Once refined tencha has been rested and its aroma stabilized, it is coarsely cut using low-speed rotary cutters, producing uniform tencha flakes and granules. This intermediate form prepares the leaves for the most critical stage of the entire process, grinding them into matcha powder. Contrary to common assumption, matcha is not produced using high-speed industrial grinding systems. Instead, the traditional and virtually irreplaceable method is the granite stone mill, a technology that has existed in Japan for more than 800 years and remains in use today. Each mill consists of two circular stone discs. The lower stone remains fixed, while the upper stone rotates slowly on a vertical axis. Hand-carved spiral grooves on the stone surface are designed to grind the leaves while gently guiding the powder outward. The mechanism may appear simple, but it is remarkably precise. Rather than being torn apart or crushed as in industrial mills, tencha is gradually milled between the two stone surfaces. The rotation speed is extremely slow, typically around 30 to 60 revolutions per minute, to minimize friction and heat buildup. Even a slight rise in temperature can degrade chlorophyll, dull umami, and compromise the refined character of high-grade matcha. This deliberate slowness results in an almost paradoxical output by modern industrial standards. A single stone mill produces only about 30 to 40 grams of matcha per hour, barely enough for a few dozen bowls of tea. In return, the powder achieves an ultra-fine, highly uniform particle size, dissolves smoothly in water, and delivers a texture and flavor structure that metal grinders cannot replicate. While industrial mills can produce dozens of kilograms per hour, they rely on intense mechanical force, generate significant heat, and trade quality for speed. For high-grade matcha, that trade-off is unacceptable. This is why the stone mill, slow, ancient, and exacting, remains the gold standard. Not because of tradition, but because even today, no technology does it better. Once the powder reaches its ideal state, fine, uniform, and vividly green, packaging begins. Matcha can be packaged in various formats, depending on its intended use and market segment. The most common is the stick pack format for beverages, widely used for matcha lattes and mixed drinks, and packaged fully automatically. Another format is paper sachets or tea bags, designed for convenient, everyday consumption. In the premium segment, matcha is typically sealed in airtight metal tins to protect the powder from light, moisture, and oxygen, the three elements that can degrade color and flavor. Regardless of the format, packaging is not merely the final step, but a critical line of defense that preserves matcha in its optimal condition until it reaches the consumer.